Hello, this is Lisa Lee, and welcome to this week's enrichment reading. We're going to be talking about healing self-abandonment and reclaiming trust, which is like confidence. I think confidence is a really deep inner trust, and I don't think it's a lot of the defense mechanism that we operate in the way of like our persona. So that's where we left off, and that's what we're coming back to. But there's something here that I'm like kind of leaving this here, because when I sat down to the table, I had taken a little break, which I needed, and it was like kind of good to like shift gears out of such immersion in the psychic space and sort of like move back into like the tangible material world a little bit. Sometimes it's vacation for me to like spend time like in like the grounded and coming back to sit here, and also kind of like the dialogue that I've been having with myself and the way that it's been feeling lately is, it's undeniable. It's undeniable as a psychic person, it's undeniable as a spiritual person, and it's undeniable as like a responsible human being to not notice just what's going on at like the broader, like the big picture. I did readings last week, about the war, and it, sort of vague, and a lot of those readings kind of covered the same material because we weren't getting new stuff. We were getting kind of like a slow down, sit down, like be calm, like almost like a brace for it. And so whatever this week that we're going into is, when we sit down, we understand that, like I was doing my pre-meditation, this is when I go into my trance and my prayer, and I connect with our guides and my highest self, and I pull cards and I kind of say like, where are you guys? Like, what are we doing? Like, where's the crowd, right? And the crowd is going to be all of your guides. And we see fault line here, we see the village, and we have the destroyer. And I was walking around earlier today, and I was running some errands, and I could feel this like palpable energy in the air, and I could feel the storm brewing, and I felt like the storm in the air. And this was not, and I wasn't feeling it, like there was probably a storm in the air. There's probably a storm. We just had a huge flood. There's lots of flooding. There are storms. But I mean psychically, I'm feeling a storm in the air. And so it's undeniable. I can't really deny it. I can't kind of go into this reading on healing self-abandonment and reclaiming trust without first leading with like my intuition is saying that there's something that we're bracing for. And I don't want us to ever feel like that's fear or there's something to be scared of. It means that the mom, it's almost like a call from like the roots of our mother's tree, where she's saying like, listen, hold on, everything's gonna be fine. We've got a wind blowing through, we've got a storm coming through. It's like it's caused to cling to her a little bit, but not in fear, in trust, right? And so one of the things that we kind of look at in terms of like the theme of reclaiming trust is having some trust in the environment, in the ecosystem, in that which gave you life, that which has supported your life, that which has positioned you in this unique way. You're purposed, and with that purpose is every tool that you would ever need. And so there's also a sentience that knows you. And so like when we cling to our mother, we don't cling to our mother in fear. We cling to our mother listening, and we listen, and we lean in to listen. And so there's something here with the village, there's something here with the destroyer, there's something here with the fault line. And this is from the pre-shuffle. And the 11th house is, again, this is with group creativity, community, humanity, hope, tribe, festivals, discoveries, common goals, startups, rebellion, experimentation, the future, friendship. So I want us to sit here for a second, and I want us to just kind of like with the mystic, with the Pisces. I'm a Pisces mystic. I want us to think about what our guides are sort of saying in terms of like, we are going to get into the learning and the healing, and and we're actually moving into like much more personal territory. But I think we also have to think about the fact that, this is divination, it is prayer, it is holy, and there's something about this that we're going to pay a little bit of attention to before we kind of move into, I think we'll weave in and out. We'll try to weave in and out of healing self-abandonment and reclaiming trust, which is like the idea, broadly, and what I'm picking up on in the way of energy, because there is a storm, and I want to look at it with us because it's humanity with that 11th house says it's like it's an everybody thing. I think a lot of us have been feeling lost at sea, like that's come up in readings with others. I've been feeling lost at sea, and I know this is a common feeling. And there's this middle of the ocean, and you can't see the shore, and you're trying to pick a direction. And that's a very common kind of like haunting that people have been having lately. And I think that that's this fault line, that's this breaking point. And so if you're a part of that haunting, comment down below, because you shouldn't be anything alone unless, I don't know, I'm always trying to coax people. I'm always trying to like get people to play. But yeah, I really do think that with the mentor, this is a new deck that I just got, and Know Yourself. So let's see, that's like, these are like bookends. Let me get some more cards. So our whole aim here is to spend time, like, you know, what is the investment? Like, what's the investment with spirituality? What's the investment with finding your voice? What's the investment with identity? Whatever this destroyer that has its eye on the village, like when we think about the divine masculine aspect of God, we're talking about an agency, almost like an individual. And when we talk about the divine feminine aspect of God, we're talking about we, us, community, like they, like very, very broadly, it's a connecting, you know, when the mother speaks, she speaks in conversation between people. It's a harmony of voices, not one. And so like, this is sort of what that village represents. And we feel it. We feel that community is under attack. We feel that community is under attack when we look at other countries and we're like, those communities are under attack. We feel our own communities under attack. We know that community as this divine feminine aspect of God, we know that authentic expression as coming through divine inspiration, that's going to be the arts, that's going to be channeling, that's very challenged by AI right now, and what an integration between like those energies might be. And so there's a lot of lost in the middle of the sea. And so this destroyer, you know, there is something here about the breaking point and something that is aiming its gun at that divine feminine aspect of God, aiming its gun at the people. Because I see this as the barrel of a gun. When I see that, I see like that, there's a vision of like a clicking in and like a barrel. I see this thing looking at me down the barrel of its gun. And it's not just me, you know, this is all of us. And it's after the 11th house. So let's take a look. Let's see what the mother has cooked up for such an enemy. Because she doesn't show us anything to make us afraid. She shows us something to alter our perception on what we're seeing. Look at this nice, wild kind of energy that's coming through here. Someone just sang the name Dahlia out. Dahlia? Delilah? Okay. 5 of Wands. Look at this crazy crew of people out here. So fault line, breaking point. What's the breaking point? Well, wars. What's the breaking point? Weather. What's the breaking point? A big, beautiful FU, you know, just delivered, you know, and all of the immigrant, like, what's the breaking point? Like, you know, people being carted off to concentration camps and an army being funded, you know, against the people, with pointed against the community, pointed against the people, a militia that just got funded in the United States. So like, what are we looking at? We're looking at chaos, and we're looking at problems, and we're looking at a 5 of Wands. So the 5 of Wands is going to be every direction that you're going to see. And so I want to just kind of, I want to be true to where we've been. I want to be true to who we are, and we're not going to scare ourselves. We're kind of just holding our mother's hand, and she's calling us closer, and she's saying, we're going to be okay. This is a storm. There are things that we're going to work on. We're going to stay calm through this. But I feel it. I'm sure that there are others that feel it. And it's not just feeling it. There's an aspect of we're in it. We just don't understand what we're in. And so with that 5 of Wands being like this conflict, this competition, like this is late stage capitalism where people are consuming themselves, is cannibalism. There's no legs to stand on. Like I see a disproportionate weight where like I see absolutely, like it's I'm being shown an upside down triangle. So like an upside down triangle, and I'm being shown that the weight of the top is about to topple over. And so with this King of Wands energy, I'm feeling that as being the Mad King, the Tyrant King, and that Wheel of Fortune energy being change, and the Six of Wands energy being our victory, humanity's victory, the victory here with the Divine Feminine aspect of God. That Ace of Wands being always about, like, I see the Ace of Wands as the thing you didn't see coming, the thing you weren't expecting, the thing you didn't think of, the thing you didn't think was a possibility, something that comes quickly out of left field and illuminates a path that was like previously not, like, I see an actual trail blazed. And so I see this trail blazed, and I see this Judgment card. So the fault line and Judgment speaks to me as being kind of the same thing. We're gonna get cards on what all of this means. I have to make sure that my dog is, she eats flies. My dog eats flies. She's a fly eater. And sometimes if the fly is positioned like at the window, like next to the table of cards, like she'll go for it, the warrior underneath. So know yourself, warrior. Know yourself, warrior. I think that's a big part of it. I do think that that is a big part of it. So let's go ahead and feel into this. Let's get some more cards. So one of the first things that I'm hearing, and I'm getting this from our guides very profoundly, is that, like, it's like a lot of you feel like, oh man, we gotta do something about the dog right now. We have to, nature is encroaching. Let's hope that she just sits. You want to just lay down? How about that? That's a great idea. I endorse it. Sorry. Well, I think that this is the thing. We have to be flexible and we have to be adaptable. And I'm definitely feeling kind of almost like an attack on my throat chakra a little bit, which is not something to worry about. It's just like my body's an instrument. So when my throat starts to clench, I realize that, like, there's something about what I'm saying. Okay, I'm getting it. So she's showing me storms. The mother started showing me, she's showing me storms in every direction. And she's saying, you know, this is time to lean in. This is time to listen. It's not going to feel good atmospherically. And so she's showing me animals that can feel when the forest is on fire. They can tell when an earthquake is coming. A wind blows in their direction and they know that, like, a tsunami is near, or that they, like, animals, she's saying instinct with mother, intuition with mother, and that our entire lives we have been constantly bombarded in an effort to divorce us from our intuition so that we wouldn't be able to move with mother. We wouldn't be able to adapt with her. We wouldn't be able to hear her. So that when the storms came, we would succumb to the storms because we would be in opposition to her because she was just attacking us. But the mother doesn't attack. The goddess doesn't attack. She tells us stuff. She brings inspiration. And a lot of what we're feeling right now, because there's these like very profound patterns of abandonment related to like not enough resources. People are under-resourced and people are scared, and so people tend to clench and like tribal and get angry and even isolate angrily rather than like reach out and be connected. Like this is very common in terms of what it means to be smelling the storm. And so she's showing me a deer, like a bunch of family of deers, herd of deers, I guess. And I hear like the crackling of a forest fire, you know, like 100 miles off or whatever it is. It's far, and I can see the fire moving towards the family of deer. And I see the doe, like one of the deers. She lifts her head up and she sniffs, and the information, it's instantaneous. Instantly, she knows we're getting up, we're going, and we're heading in this other direction. And they start to run and they start to go, and they're with the bunny rabbits, and they're with the rats, and they're with the they're with the lambs, and they're with the goats. Every animal is getting the information. They're all getting the memo. We're going this way. We're going with mother. We're heeding our intuition and we're heeding our instinct. And so when we think about what it is to know yourself, to be doing this work, to heal the self-abandonment, to heal, like reclaiming that inner trust, like getting connected to the divine, and the divine feminine is connecting with each other in all different ways. Like there's no end to how creative that process is. But also, you know, what I'm seeing here with with just like your body and your nervous system. It's okay to like, if you're telling yourself that you should be calm and everything should be fine and you're supposed to be happy right now, the truth of the matter is, if you're smelling a forest fire and you're not running as an animal, you're going to be really like uncomfortable. And we are humans that don't have the migration accessibility and the migration ease and the adaptability of animals that aren't divorced from that sound of that intuition. And so when we do the work of knowing ourselves, when we do the work with reconnecting with the divine feminine aspects of God, both spiritually, in our spiritual walk, you know, like a spirituality that is about strengthening your intuition, 1,001% is it's a spirituality about strengthening your intuition. That is what you do in times of global climate change, to be intuition, in like connection, in tune with the mother. That connection is everything. And so like, that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing together. And that's what we're doing as a group. And as we do that as a group, we're safe. We're fine. We're being cared for. We're being prepared. We're being guided, you know, with that mentor and like, you know, the mystic and the Pisces, that's all of us. And that's this collective. The mentor though, you know, again, we all have something to offer each other in ecosystem. We all have something to teach each other in ecosystem. But we value what we offer too, and we value what others offer, because it's one of the biggest tricks of this world of economy instead of world of ecosystem is not being able to value each other properly. And so when we are connecting with identity, when we're connecting with voice, and we're connecting with what it means to look very clearly at the landscape in front of us, and to know that we're going to be okay as we like lean in and we connect with the mother and we trust, because there's a lot of change here that leads to something really wonderful. 6 of Wands, amazing. Ace of Wands, judgment. That's a judgment call. All right, so let's get into it a little bit, because you know the warrior here and the 5 of Wands says this is a war, this is a fight, this is a battle. And so if you are vacillating between feeling like you're lost at sea and you can't see the shore, and you're in a battle, one or the other, you're on the battlefield, everyone's on the battlefield, you're walking around, those people are our enemies, those people are our friends, that's ambiguous. You're going to be what way in front of all of these people in order to like manage, and now you're at home and you're tired. And then you're confronted with the reality of the fear that everyone is like pulsing with as we watch things go way off of the track. It's like we're watching the train that we're riding, like, you know, hit what looks like a no track. And that's a common feeling, and that's a feeling that we're picking up on. It's a feeling that we're participating with, and it's a feeling that we're witnessing. And even if that's not the feeling that we're contending with, there's some form of how do I plan my way forward with so much upheaval and lack of coherence and lack of cohesion. And so I want us to first, like, you know, as we enter this reading, you know, it's hard to work on the healing journey, the healing journey, the healing journey, the healing journey. That's such an individualistic process when we are not in a healing journey that is like you're having to heal something from childhood over and over and over again. The moment of truth, the moment of honesty, the moment of like look in the mirror and say what it is that we're having right now is we're in this together. Things are really bad, and it's going to be okay, and you're going to be fine. But we're going to change the way we think about a good day a little bit. We're going to change the way we think about success. We're going to change the way we think about fun. We're going to have to dig really deeply in with our roots to get through what it is that we're looking at in the way of a social, like economic, climate change climate. We're gonna just like look at what's going on, and then we're gonna say it's gonna be fine. We're gonna play, we're gonna learn, we're gonna get really in tune with our intuition, and our mother is gonna guide us into calm places and safe waters and dry places. And so that's what we see. You know, this destroyer is a liar. The destroyer is a liar. Look at that fault line. It's at a breaking point. We're at a breaking point. Okay. We need to break. We need to break and we need to rebuild. And so we know that. And so we have that level of trust. I just want to take a breath here because, you know, I'm vacillating through a number of energies. I move in one direction and I feel the fight and I feel the angst and I feel the boiling point and I feel the breaking point and I feel that fault line and I feel a terror and I do smell such a storm on the air. That's like one very big aspect of this reading. But then I move, and that's like this warrior vibe. But then I feel like almost the hand of the mother, the hand of the divine, kind of like move me into the water, into this like Pisces kind of a position, this Neptune kind of a position. Because we have Aries and Neptune as like this fire and water, but we're moving into the water, and that water is like knowing yourself. And if you look at this card with know yourself, we have her being able to conjure anything that she needs, any way that she needs it, and that provision is there. With expression under attack. We've got expression under attack, and we've got communication under attack, because communication and expression are changing with AI and everything that AI can do. It's changing what it is to make stuff, and it's changing what it is to communicate. It's like an instrument that like no one knows how to play properly, but it's very loud and it takes up a lot of space and it can drown out the other sounds in the room. And so like while that's going on, we have to shift into and actually like adapt. Think about evolution. Adapt, there's a need to adapt. Adapt the way you express. And it's not even adapt the way you express. I'm trying to see this correctly. It's a little hard. With know yourself being about like, connected to an ecosystem. That ecosystem has its own purpose. That purpose is its own voice. That voice is its identity. That's a unique expression, like within the ecosystem. That's a unique value, but it's not going to look like what is valuable in economy, and it's not even going to look like what's been taught to you as the value that the economy places on anything. And so like finding your voice is almost like what the part that was like, oh gosh, I'm looking at it as like the core part of you that was silenced. Like when your voice is taken, when you never needed legs, you always needed the voice. Like I'm singing Ariel, the Little Mermaid. You never needed the legs, you always just needed the voice. And yet the thing that she was told to bargain away was her voice for those legs. It wasn't the legs that were going to bring her into contact with the love that she desired. It was the voice that was going to connect. And so when we realize that we've done this like Faustian bargain, like that we didn't know what we were doing, we didn't realize that we were like giving up our voice in exchange for legs, giving up the ecosystem in exchange for an economy. And so when we understand that the ecosystem is failing, that's that Five of Wands, that's that fault line, that's the warrior, the fight that's going to be everywhere in one way or another, is all of these system failures. And then when it comes to trying to express yourself and assert yourself and find your place of belonging, what that is going to mean is that you're going to connect with what it is for you to actually channel. That's being connected to your intuition, communicating through your intuition, moving with your intuition. In times of like change and instability, that is going to be the superpower. That's the spiritual that's the spiritual teaching we need, is that ability to adapt and that ability to succeed. So I'm going to have some water. And I encourage you to talk about what it feels like to be living through this historic time. Not necessarily like, social media is AI slop. And it was AI slop even before AI, started to do its thing. Like it is not a place, where authentic expression is. It's designed like a video game, and people compete, and so it's garbage in a lot of ways. But it doesn't have to be, and we do find a lot of value there, and it's really worth it to stick it out for the medium, because things will shake out in a new way. But all performers are going to have absolutely no success with performing as business as usual. Performance, business as usual. Creating like in a way that is performance, even writing in a performative way. Like all performance is over. And it's over as we move from one epoch into another, because this whole compliance and roles and rank and file and hierarchy is about performing. It's all performance. It's performance from top to bottom. And we're moving into something different. We're moving into authenticity. So moving into authenticity first sort of requires you to abandon performance and every form of performance, and finding yourself performing and catching yourself performing and knowing that we've been conditioned to performing. And so like, what does it mean to not perform? What does it mean to not mask? And what does it mean to like express without that mirror? I have a fly in this room, and I'm just not, we're not doing that. Hold on, I'm gonna be right back. There are those of you in this collective that work with Loki, and I don't, you know, sometimes, whatever, once in a while, but like not, I choose the guides that I work with when I work with them, and everybody does, and we always should. And that doesn't mean that Loki is not one that I want to work with, but just not at the moment. That's not the vibe. And I can see the influence as being playful. And it's almost like, you know, we have this little period of time right now where it's encouraged to be playful. It's encouraged to be adapting. It's encouraged to be a little bit chaotic because things are a little bit chaotic. And so when we think about this King of Wands situation where this nut, this is the Mad King, is pushing major change. And that's where we are finding our victory. And so we're meant to sort of look forward to the fact that we are being like that this fault line and this attempt at like destroying community is just going to backfire. And so like when we come back to this notion of like giving away, stop performing. Stop performing. There's an easy way to stop performing. Just stop performing and think about like creativity not as related to a performance or a presentation, but creativity actually as a spiritual, devotional, prayerful, connecting with divine energies, playful, all aspects of like giving way and letting yourself express and explore, and curiosity and seeking wisdom, you know, having a different sort of sense of what it is that you are capable of, what your limits are and your limits aren't. That's this new direction. So like, you know, how do you show up authentically? You channel, you get in touch with who you are. You get in touch with what you're connected with. You get in touch with your influences and your inspirations, your divine genius. You find a way to work with everything in the richness. You know, you find the authors and the richness of their work, and you give yourself over to these conversations and what it means to work with energies that enrich you. Like there's so many things that like aren't garbage, right? And the reason that I bring that up is because we're looking at this very seriously. We're taking a very serious look at what's in front of us, and we're saying we're not looking at change, social change, like, you know, cataclysmic level social change as going to be like we're not looking at an easy shift. We're not looking at an easy shift in the creative expression market and job market when we have technology that will remove labor and replace it with something else. So now we have a transition. It's going to be hard. We have to go through it. You know, we have to think about like mass migration as climate catastrophes become more and more and more commonplace. We have to think about the United States balkanizing, and it looks like it's going to. This is like so many wars. Like I see that too. Like so many big things that we do ourselves no service ignoring, and what it means for us to engage with the place that we are, the history that we're living through, and all of those adapting and transformations is to actually be excited, actually be looking forward, actually be grateful, actually have trust, actually begin to like look at this as like the door opening, a new way emerging. And know that like the old way is not going to work, and you're going to fail. Old ways of doing things are going to fail. New creative ways of doing things will succeed because there's stuff that's happening that is going to help us here with the Six of Wands, the victory. The change that is coming is going to be good. The inspiration is going to be good. The judgment call, though, says like there's going to be a sifting, like there's going to be a major sifting, and there's going to be a major reorganizing of like what it means to be resourced. Expect the extraordinary. Like we're kind of being told that like this is a moment in time. So like what's the first thing that you do authentically? And I think we've tried to do this. It doesn't work though, right? And part of it is like we're super small. We're going to be super small until I'm in a more secure place, because this is a hostile environment, right? But that's okay, because part of what it is to be super small is to play with some of this stuff like a little bit, you know, more tangibly. And so when we look around and we say, yeah, things are really, they are actually bad. They're not theoretically bad. It's not that we're watching this on TV and we're somehow disconnected to it. Like it's going to hit everybody somewhere at some point. Like we're not escaping the impact. What we are escaping is this being a negative experience in any way. Because it's going to be negative to look around and see the wars. It's going to be negative to have to like deal with the fallout of the incompetency of leadership that has been against community. There is going to be an extraordinary force that comes through and moves things from this mad king energy to this Wheel of Fortune, Six of Wands energy, where we have victory. And we have victory with this. There's someone here coming through, and it's not, I don't get a savior vibe. Like, there's the divine feminine aspect of God is saying, like, I am going to be victorious. That you can be assured of. But we want to be with her. We want to be connected to intuition. We want to be adapting as she moves things. We want to be able to hear her and smell the air and know when it's time to move. Because that's going to happen for more of us. There is going to be moments when you just know you're not supposed to go through that door. You just know you're not supposed to get on that train. You just know it's time to leave. You just can feel it. You just know that the way that things aren't working out, that there's something that's pushing you to a divine detour. We have to begin to think about what it means to have a vision of life and an experience of life and an expectation of life that is not, I don't know how to say this. Let me see if I can think about a way to put this. If you have to move 4 times in a year, but every single time you have to move, you're placed somewhere warm and comfortable and you're fed, that might be blessed. That might be tremendous blessing. And if you think it's a curse because, you know, the climate situation and the bad, you know, this situation, the balkanizing and the wars, and if you are provided for by the ecosystem, this is a blessed life, right? And so when we think about identity as related to how do you succeed as a voice, how do you find your voice, and how do you step into purpose, and how do you operate from that place, and how do you be in that kind of alignment with intuition, with mother, and with that place, like where you are, and not feeling disconnected, not feeling afraid, and not feeling subject to like every wind that can blow you over. To do that is to have a spiritual practice where you're connecting with divine energies in one way or another, whatever way you are most comfortable with, but then also connecting with others. Your courage will be rewarded, you know? And so like the Six of Wands is about the victory that is in whatever these changes that are coming are. And, you know, I feel like we're all over the place a little bit with this reading because I wasn't expecting to bring in what I think is like a storm that we're looking at. I really think we're going to have a storm. And so I kind of want us to like prepare for that. But one of the first things that you can do that is authentic expression that we've tried to play with a little bit is being honest about the time that we're in, what it looks like, how it feels. And so I was with my guides earlier this week and I was like looking around and I was feeling all this stuff. It was like fever pitch of like all kinds of hand of fire. You know, like there was so much going on with the spiral and like the my need to cultivate an innocence, right? What does it mean to cultivate an innocence in a time like this? It's hard, actually. You know, in the same way that we fight with nature. And if we don't fight with nature, we end up fighting with the nature of man. And a lot of times we can feel like we're helpless and we can look out at the predators and we can look at these people who are like warmongers and they're insane and look what they're doing and how are they hurting people and they don't even care. And we can become bitter and we can shut down and we can close ourselves and we can kind of huddle in a corner. You know, we can look at like the technocrats and the way that AI is being handled so poorly. Idiots obviously running that show. It's a beautiful technology. It has tremendous like value. It can do incredible things. But if you use it like a stupid dum-dum, you know what I mean? Like you're gonna have a really rocky road. And if you design it stupid, dum-dum, stupid, you know, it's not gonna be a proper, you know, administration of what it is to actually roll this out so that it can like maximize performance, both its performance and your performance. We're not doing anything in a seamless way, which means we're going to be in a jungle. And this jungle can be fun, and this jungle will be fun. But you know, one of the first things that we can do authentically, what's your first thing that you can do to be authentic, to be connected to mother? Connected to mother is connected to yourself. It's connected to the version of yourself that is infinite, that has already lived all of your lives. It's connected to the version of yourself that like understands the panoramic of you at different ages. It's connected to all of your ancestors that express through the traits that you've inherited that they share. It's connected to the friendship, you know, it's connected to nature. It's connected to inspiration, imagination, dreaming. like all of it, you know, like everything that gives you sustenance. And I just have to kind of center myself. Like, this is what it means to cultivate innocence. You know, the innocence of a type of perverse purity is what we're taught. But the innocence that is true is one where you trust the divine forces that you are guided by, and when you trust that the universe is for you. And so you can look at the nature of like a storm that rolls through and forces you to move from one place to another, whether it be a physical storm or a financial storm or a circumstantial storm. That move is a blessing. You need to know it, you know, if you feel it, you know what I mean? And even if you're moved out of a job, you know, or you're moved out of a position and you feel lost at sea, unable to see the shore, what that means is like you're an opportunity of connecting deeper than you've ever connected with your desires. What is going to fuel your direction? It's not going to be something that is giving you an option. Like when you're lost at sea and you have to pick a shore and you can't see the shores, you're not navigating by a motivation that is external to you. You are navigating by a motivation that is internal, that intuition, that connection. And when you express from that place, there's a feeling of chaos. You know, there's a feeling of having to adapt to a life of not being addicted to certainty. Let me have some water. And so when we look at the landscape and we're like those monsters that are eating the children with their bare hands, like, and just like, you can just, oh, the grossness. Actually, just my vision was so gross, right? So the visions that I see like are, you know, like I get these like flashes of like a landscape and I'll see like the players and I'll see what they're doing, but I'll see like from a spiritual perspective what it looks like. If like we think about these evil like oligarch monster, you know, men that are national, like this disgusting situation that we're dealing with the fascists, and we want to hate them, right? I want to hate them. I look at them and I see the spirits that travel with them. I see what they're possessed with. I see what it looks like. I see how it manifests. And I just constantly just like walk around like disgusted. And like they see me and I see them. Their energy feels my energy. I feel their energy. Like yeah, you know what I mean? It's like the spirits that they roll with are disgusting. But I do want to kind of give us a little bit of contrast here, because when you think about the, I want you to picture all of the players, the evil empire players. I want you to picture them in your head. When I tell you, when I like go to like view that from a psychic perspective, there is no horror movie more grotesque. There is no there is no more disgusting a sight, a smell, like a combination of things than what those people look like energetically at a spiritual level. When I it's like their soul is like this little worm, and then they are like eaten alive by like these undulating, like just most grotesque, most disgusting forces of anti-nature. The most inhumane, these like versions of the void that express through like the worst combinations. And so it's like we can point our anger and our hate at these people who participate with all of these gross things and in these gross ways, or we can understand that like what your spirit looks like, what you look like spiritually, is like this think about when I see a really pure, really beautiful spirit in the world, when I see somebody who isn't affected by like, you know, just all the stuff that we can get affected by, there's a way in which we travel when we are completely authentic, when we are completely connected with the divine aspect of gods, you know, and when we are actually like in that place. And if you've ever seen like a film negative and held it up against the light, it's like a darkness, and then the film negative is this brightness. That's what that innocence, that purity of soul is really about. And it's not a purity of like self, and it's not it's not you absent all the influences, you not channeling anything, you like just being a pure essence. Like it's not that. It's like it's something else. I can't even explain it, but it's like a cultivated self. It's a cultivated innocence that doesn't become grotesque with hatred, doesn't become grotesque with bitterness, doesn't become rigid with fear because of changes that are happening to you instead of you inciting them, but that moves like a river, and that like moves like the deer that smells the forest fire and like goes. And so there is something here about this change. Like this destroyer is creating a fault line. We're at a breaking point where knowing yourself is the warrior move. knowing yourself and connecting with yourself and connecting with your guides and connecting with your expression and becoming that glow in the dark force. That looks nothing like participating in economy. It looks like being lost at sea and like finding the shore of your own desire, which is tapping into your own purpose and your own self. And so this hand of fire, stoke your inner flame. This is a big deal. Like, part of the work that you have to do here to be a warrior in this time of climate and everything eruption. I do feel like it's going to go faster than people anticipate. I'm looking forward to that, actually, because this is the harvest of the heart, balance, strength, and vulnerability. Balancing strength and vulnerability. Do you see these two cards? This card is it's a card of harvest. The Six of Wands is a card of harvest. This is victory and harvest. And this is like winning the battle. Like, you know, this is hope. And so instead of, because I feel a lot of people shutting down a little bit or kind of closing in, or looking out at like, what are the opportunities? Well, what are the opportunities? Not many, because, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, the opportunities that are going to be phenomenal and that are going to bring you into an amazing place and allow you to do the things that you've been preparing for, and like where we feel like the divine is stepping in, those opportunities come after this. This is a big deal right here. This King of Wands is the Mad King, the crazy Mad King. This Wheel of Fortune is the change that we are going to be, because I'm seeing mad kings pointing at each other, and there being a standoff between these mad kings. And I see this breaking point. Let me just get a better view. It's actually like I'm having a hard time communicating it. But this Ace of Wands is an inspiration, and it's a rush of energy, and it's a rush of power. And so I wish I could see. Let me just see if I can see it. I'm kind of worried that we're in for something. That something's happening soon. Because I always see these things, and I usually see them a little bit far off, at a distance. And I think we might be close to something. And I guess I gotta look. Because I mean, I feel very powerfully that we're getting like information on how to weather this. This reading does seem to be like, this is how you weather this storm. And I smell the storm. So I can smell the storm, I can feel the storm. We haven't had the storm, but we're getting the instructions on how to weather it. And so there is an aspect of being in the storm, but there's something here that something might break. I'm hearing vulcanization, but I've seen that like from a farther distance, so that's a little bit confusing. Okay, my first chakra is definitely acting up, resplendent with grace. Okay, the Judgment here. Let me just see if I can get, I kind of want to look and see if we can get like a particular on what the hell we're actually going to be dealing with here. I'm going to get these two decks out and see if I can see it, because with this spiral, a time and rest for rest and repose, balance, strength, and vulnerability. Again, like both of these cards, along with stoke your inner flame, hand of fire, all of this seem like it feels like preparation. Like it feels like this is how you deal with this. Like I gotta look a little bit closer. I gotta see a little bit closer now. There's some extraordinary thing that we can expect at the level of the 11th house. And there's a way of weathering it, with that Five of Wands being about, there's a way to have a party in the middle of the battlefield. The resplendent with grace means there will be grace. This is not going to be hard in the way that we might fear it would be hard. It's actually going to be a lot easier. Wheel of Fortune, Six of Wands, Ace of Wands. Like, we are looking at a victory in a huge way. But I'm seeing that lost at sea, and I'm seeing in the middle of the sea, and I've been seeing that card this week with other people too. That's very much speaking of like, if you're trying to get somewhere right now with your career, if you're trying to get somewhere right now with having a sense of what direction to go, if you're trying to get somewhere in terms of building the foundation anywhere, I think that might be incredibly difficult. It doesn't mean that your foundation is really going to be disrupted or upended, but it does mean that wherever you are is going to still feel like it's not firm feet on the ground somehow. And your guides are basically saying that like you are secure. If you don't feel secure, you are still secure. And instead of sitting in a frozen, I feel that frozen state, the like the fight, freeze. I feel a freeze. I feel a communal freeze. And what our guides are telling us about this fault line, what we're seeing, what we're hearing, what we're experiencing, that we're smelling the storm. We're picking up on the forest fire. Your guides want you to be like, okay, now where's authenticity in all this? Okay, saying like, yeah, I'm feeling this. Like, yeah, I'm going through this. Like, yeah, this is hard. This is not an isolated experience of you're sick and you need healing. The healing elixir and the antidote is being able to say to each other, like, holy shit, this is scary. This is weird. This is bad. Like, this is, and we have been saying those things, but I feel like we've been saying those things at each other, not to each other. I feel like we've been saying a lot at each other, and I feel like the problem with TikTok and the problem with social media flipping through is that communication becomes something that is at you and not with you. And so I encourage us to communicate with each other, not at each other, because it's almost like our voice is getting tainted by like the wrong kind of conditioning. And so this is where we have an attack at the level of connection. Like, we have to even learn how to communicate with each other instead of at each other. And we also have to do that by, so like that authentic expression is like being really clear on like, you know, what you're feeling, what you need, you know, how you want to do something, or what you want to see about something, or who's where. And that doesn't necessarily mean trauma dumping, because I know that that's always the danger that people worry about. And that's just, I hate that word, and I hate when people say that, because there's a way to look at things differently, right? Because I don't think that that's it, right? I think that we can get into that another time. But the bottom line here is that, like, I do see like that this is actually a time to not be building in a way that is like, I'm gonna go get it, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna have it, and hustle and do. More like, let yourself be where you are. If you don't have if you're not being driven by demands, and you feel like you should be doing more, know where you are positioned, know what's going on, know where the provision is, know where the provision is not, know what is demanded of you, and know what is not demanded of you, and be in this place of finding strength and balance despite the vulnerability that you feel all around you, and despite the vulnerability that this like ushers in yourself. Stoking that inner flame, connecting with the divine, connecting with your channel. What is channeling? You feel it. You go into a flow state. When do you go into flow states? What brings you into a flow state? When's the last time you were in a flow state? What is your special interest? Is that still working for you? It's hard when we're frozen. It's hard when we have to think about the fact that a lot of our flow states, not everybody has easy access to that, right? And so we have to think about connecting to the divine and giving way and flow state versus being driven. If another person is your special interest, that's often a drive. That's often not your purpose. And so we got, so there is this need for transformation, with this immortality here being about like, you need to let yourself transform and change. And that means that you can't be white knuckling how people see you and how you want to be seen without really fleshing out why you want to be seen that way. What does it mean for you to be seen that way? Who are you in relationship to how you want to be seen? And like, what goes into all of that? These questions, these knowing yourself questions. And we ended with one of these questions. Last week we had like 3 readings. It was a lot. But the week before that, when we were doing this healing self-abandonment and reclaiming trust. Self-abandonment is when you abandon yourself for somebody else. Even when that somebody else is like a superstar, you know what I mean? That you want to be just like, that's still abandoning yourself and who you actually are. And so to heal those wounds, when we give away our voice because we're wrong about what it is that we think we want, or the world is no longer presenting us that option because that was never an option, that was always just a role. When it comes to reconnecting with purpose, again, you're channeling, you're praying, you're finding out where your spiritual voice, like where does it connect? Like, well, how does it connect? And so this immortality, this willingness to die and be reborn means if something's not working, it's a divine detour. And you rest. and you take that time to reorient, to figure out who you are, to figure out what it is to find your strength. And that strength also is in part that vulnerability. And that vulnerability is your honest communication. And that transformation comes of speaking from that place of honest communication. And cultivating that innocence is not about like being the judge, the jury, and trying to take control by diagnosing everything in your environment and deeming it unhealthy and bad and get away from me. I hate you, you're scary. That makes sense. You know what I mean? Like the world that we're in, like that, I get it. You know, like that's an easy thing to just sort of move towards. But with this alchemical wand, like what you have in your toolbox, where is it? The guys are showing me something and I don't know what they're showing me. Yes, here, the magician under, yeah. So a lot of you have been seeing twos, a lot of you, and two of you that I've spoken to have been seeing twos a lot, and I saw twos today again. And one of you told me twos mean you're on the right path, okay? And so the magician here, and trust. And so finding that place of trust in yourself, not in the prescription of life that you've gone, you know, if we have trust in this idea that if you behave a certain way, you're going to have a certain outcome. We have trust that if we do a certain thing, then we're going to get a certain thing. But that's not trust. That's selling your voice for a pair of legs that you never needed to get where you were going in the first place. And so when we think about what it means to be the magician, you have all the tools that you will ever need to express as you are designed to express, and to be received as you're meant to be received. And nothing that is meant for you is going to be taken from you. As long as you're in alignment with that purpose and you're connected to those roots that are connected to the mother that created you for something very particular, because that happens in an ecosystem, and that is how an ecosystem works. So when you know that you're reconnecting to that, and you're taking away all of your investment in some sort of bartering that says, if I behave this way, I'm going to get that. If I look this way, I'm going to have that. If I'm like this other person, then I'm going to have the thing that they have. Like all of the ways that we get like wrapped up, you know, if I have that relationship, then I'll have the security. If I have that kind of job, then I'll have that kind of respect. None of it, because none of that is related to like what it is to express of your purpose. And so, you know, when we think about the landscape in front of us, and cultivating an innocence and cultivating I can't say the word, naive, you know, it's hard, you know, because I kind of feel sort of like the difficulty here with the immortality, the desire to have what you have and to be who you are and to not change in that, the desire to have your identity to be sort of fixed in a certain kind of way. There's so much here that we have to allow to burn up in this major transformation that we're meant to go through during this fault line, during this period of the destroyer aiming at the people, community, and the major groundswell of change that comes of this, and the new world that we step into on the other side of this. You know, I see it very profoundly as being a big sorting. And so when we think about the presentation that we put on, the performance that we put on, and we think about what is the voice that the world needs, it's not your performance. What people need to hear from you is not your food photography. They don't need to see the perfect plate that you assemble. They need to see the graham crackers that you ate for dinner, because it's just, you're not even going to be bothered. That's because they're eating graham crackers. And now in community, you discuss how graham crackers aren't going to work and you laugh, and now you have a connection, and now you have what it means to actually be in the moment that you're in, taking part in the historical moment that you're taking part, everybody together in the bomb shelter, like holding hands. Like this is a moment for us to experience the mother's provision, not put on a performance of how awesome we are. And that's a big shift from if you behave a certain way, if you behave awesome, if you behave beautiful, if you behave perfect, now you're going to have, you know, the things that you need. Like, you know, if you say the funny thing, you know, you're going to get the right response. If you speak authentically, those purpose to be in relationship to you are going to hear that call in resonance. They're going to resonate with you. And they're going to move towards you, and you're going to move towards them. And it's not going to be about, well, you know, we never got this and they got that, and I got this and they didn't get that, and why do they have that and I don't have that, and they're over there and I'm over here. And like, that's disgusting. Stop. You know what I mean? Because we can't do that right now. That's distraction. That's procrastination. Every single time you stop and you start comparing yourself to others, no matter where you are, you're participating in economy. because that comparison is related to competition, and that competition is what we're doing away with. Because you're not going to be able to compete in what's happening here at the level of the fault line, at the level of breaking point. You're going to, and when we say this over and over again, but like so many of us are buried alive. The quicksand has taken us under because we have a referendum, we have a briefing book of all of the ways in which the other people have hurt us and kept us from the opportunities that we were meant to have, because of the social positioning, the economic positioning, because of how we were born and what physical condition we were born. There's so many things that we can like look at and say, you know, that ideal that is meant for, that everybody's supposed to have that ideal. Everybody's supposed to have these opportunities. Everybody's supposed to have all of these good things. Everybody's supposed to be maximized in their potential. That's absolutely true. But that does not look the same as comparing yourself to people and saying, you know, those people have all of those things and they're blind and they're stupid and they're making this miserable, horrible thing. And all of these people have to suffer because of those people, and those people have to suffer because of those people, because that's not necessarily untrue. It's just incoherent. It doesn't solve the problem. Looking at your life and saying, I never got the love that I was promised. I watched rom-com after rom-com after rom-com. I invested in Princess Diaries, and I knew that I was going to be loved like that. And I knew that I was going to have that kind of wedding, and that's not going to happen, or it happened and it was terrible. And now there's nothing. And so now I'm going to shut down, and I'm going to sit in front of a screen, and I'm going to plug my ears because there's no life for me here. And nothing is going to provide those opportunities, because look at this power structure, look at these failures, look at this end all. That's taking you out of your purpose. Okay? That's taking you out of your voice. That's taking you out of where you're meant to go. That's taking you out of what it means for you to be you and thrive as yourself, and actually bring the miracle into the world that you're meant to be bringing into the world. And so, you know, it's not about presentation. It's not about having a certain cleverness and the way that you speak. These are not the things that you behave a certain way and now you're going to get a certain thing. And the disappointment that comes from, I wore the perfect dress. I put on the perfect performance. I said the perfect words. I knew that they were, and still I didn't get the thing. And now I've missed out, and the world is no good, and I have nothing, and I have to just crumble. Like, that's the darkness. That's the shadow of what it is to be in this world, in the position that we're in right now, is to be in that place of feeling somehow the earth and the spirit guides and everybody failed you because of you putting on the right show, behaving in the right way, doing all the right things, being the right kind of person, and the expectation was that this was going to be received, and it wasn't. And so now the time is ticking and it's all over and there's nothing else. But your purpose for this moment and this time and your expression, and vitality and beauty, not in performance, but in presence. In presence. And presence is voice, and voice is identity. And so, like, you know, we've gone over this so many times, and I don't mean to go through it again. I promise you, like, I want to be moving into territory where we are talking about, like, finding that voice a little bit clearer. But I think that we're getting something here. I don't want to say we're getting something here in the way of a warning. Let me get some more cards, because I'm not really satisfied with, like, you know, when I look out on the psychic landscape, when I look out at the psychic landscape all week long, you know, I have like very clear senses of like what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to retract from judgment because it's not going to do us any good. We're supposed to step into curiosity. We're supposed to connect with the divine aspects of God that we have access to. We're supposed to move into prayer. We're supposed to interact with each other. We're supposed to reach out to those that we love and that love us and try to communicate with them. Like, this is like the marching orders. We're not going to get much more because there is a huge iron curtain over how far we're able to see into the future because of this destroyer here. I know that there's something coming. I've known it for a long time. It's going to be Six of Wands victory, Ace of Wands new beginning, blazed new trail, Judgment card, something that happens that like really, you know, solidifies this is outside of you. This is going to affect you, not from your own doing. But the warrior move right now is to know yourself, find your voice, move out of performance. It's not going to do you any good. It's never did you any good. Performance has never done you a lick of good. And if you don't know how to, like, listen, what does it mean to be stuck in performance? I want to just bring this back because it can be like a curse that you don't want to hear. And it can be, you can feel like you're being accused of something. But I'm gonna try and get it at the level of heart, because we like, there's literally not a single one of us, myself included, who is not stuck in some rut or around this. And so let me just explain what. Let's get there. I'm just kind of looking to our guides a little bit. Let me look a little deeper. Okay, here's a good one. Ready? If you don't know how to be alone, if you can't figure out who you are unless you are serving somebody else, unless you are serving somebody else's needs, unless you're doing something for somebody else, unless you're doing a good job, if you can take care of everyone around you 100%, like the most competent, amazing ability to take care of other people, but you can't take care of yourself, you're bad at meeting your basic needs, this here is a good example of performance. And it's sneaky, it's disguised, because we don't realize that we're talked out of being who we are when we're operating in orbit of what others might react to that us. If we're constantly looking for validation, or we're constantly looking for mirroring, and we can't figure out how to like get those connections and get a sense of ourselves outside of like what we're doing for somebody else. Like there's a performing for somebody else, or performing a role, or performing a type of way of being in the world that's like busy and doing for others. We have to do for others, but when we don't know ourselves, that's performance. And so like so like we're not doing this to like, no one's getting condemned. You know what I mean? We're not getting condemned. We're just trying to prepare for the storm. We're in the beginning of the storm. We smell it, we feel it, we can feel it at a distance. It's affecting some people right now, and it's gonna affect us soon, because you can't have a storm in one region that doesn't move. The weather affects like the weather over here affects the weather over here, and the storms at this magnitude happening in other countries, happening in our country, are going to affect the weather of the world that we're in. We're looking at major storms right now. And I see that this is a timeline. This is a good timeline. We want to be in this timeline. It's going to go quick. But I would be a very bad like psychic if I didn't tell you the world card here, that we're right up against it. We're right up against it. We're at that part of the apocalypse where, like, as a psychic, I'm like, okay, you know, we're gonna gather, you know, our resources. We got to wait this out. We got to wait this storm out. And so I don't know what the storm looks like. This is gonna go up on a Sunday. I feel it's close. I can smell it. Whatever that storm is, it's near, right? It might be this week, because I don't know why I'm not getting my normal channel, you know, and I know that things have been feeling weird, and I've been feeling things rumble. So let's just get some more cards, like last couple of cards here. I want to use this deck because the grace is with us. You have everything that you need. You're on the right path. Nothing is going to kill you here. You just have to be very, like, there's something about the alchemical wand, the alchemy, because this King of Wands is this crazy King of Wands, okay? This lunatic, 10 of coins, hoarding money, King of Wands, lunatic, you know, hierarchical system, like this bad situation. But that's not where the wealth is. Where the true wealth is, this is all a mirage anyway. These are all lies, all the lies about where wealth is. Wealth is with community. Wealth is always with community. Wealth has always been with community, because community is relationship, community is where you build stuff, community is everything. Wealth in isolation is just a prison with like 5 people, you know, paranoid around each other. You know? So like when we think about this whole other like this transformation that we're all going through, having to sit tight, moving through this storm, like we can expect the extraordinary. It's a phenomenon level of transformation and change here with the World card at the level of community, especially when it comes to wealth and how it's distributed. Like there's no question about it. This is a direct impact against that. Magic of the mind, memories, hubris. Yeah. So a lot of what we look at and a lot of what we're seeing, you know, when we look around right now, face your fear. The Judgment card is basically like Judgment Day is upon us. We're any minute there. Any minute. I feel it. You know, like, and it's not gonna, you gotta look at all the prophecies, and you gotta understand from all the perspectives of all of the different belief systems, there are chords of truth. the empire and the god of the empire, so the patriarchal god, the sick, demented, patriarchal god, like, was always a war god, and that war god was always going to come to an end, and that war god's end of the world is that war god's end of the world, and its children, it's their end of times. But for those that don't belong to that god and don't belong to the end of that world view, what you're stepping into is a return of the gods in one way or another. And so when we look at this magic of the mind, memories and hubris, and facing your fears, we are facing something pretty big right now as a human species in 5 different ways. And people are really scared, and they're expressing it in a number of dysfunctional ways. That's the facts. A lot of people are walking around as if it's business as usual. And we're meant to walk around as if it's business as usual to a certain extent, because it's our job to regulate our nervous system for those who can't. It's our job to have a clear head and to be connected to the divine and be able to connect to our core and be with Mother, be in that intuition. That's this magic of the mind. That's the whole work of this. That's the whole warrior of this. That's the whole journey of this. And then the adaptability when she calls you from one place to another, when she calls you from one job into a different job, when she calls you into a place of calm and reorienting, when she doesn't give you opportunities because she needs you to sit tight. It's like listening to all of this and connecting with others. There are memories about, our memories, this is going to be our conditioning. All of this conditioning about like how you're supposed to hustle, how you're supposed to work. If you behave this way, then you're going to get that outcome. If you behave this way, then you will get that outcome is no longer on the table. That is why people feel like they're in the middle of the ocean and they can't find the land and they don't know what direction they're going to go. The opportunity, the wheel of fortune, the victory, the inspiration, the judgment call, the change that's coming in, for those that are able to move by the compass of desire, connect with intuition, move with that intuition, channel. If you're able to channel, your voice will resonate. If your voice will resonate, that is your provision and the provision of others. And so we have to use this time of rest and repose and this pause between the storm and when the storm hits. Man, my throat chakra is acting up, so I kind of feel like it's soon. Man. With the magic of the mind, the memories, we have to work against the conditioning that drives us to be a certain way, to be received a certain way, to be understood a certain way, to be seen a certain way, to perform a certain way. Like, none of that is going to work because you're going to try and it's going to fail and you're going to wonder what you're doing wrong. And I'm telling you right now that it's a tidal shift. It's not you, it's all of us. And this hubris here, though, is this is going to be where we have to face our fears. You can kind of pull yourself back into ego and prop yourself up on like righteous indignation and self-righteous indignation. You can always go there and live there, but that's not confidence. That's not identity either. That's not your voice. And so the hubris is where, I don't know, I want to see what that means real fast. I know this is going long. It's a little bit disorganized. I'm actually like, I've been weathering weird weather spiritually. Like it's crazy out here. If you, those of you that like know what it is to channel, know to stick your head up right now is so crazy. To do it for real, not to, not like, there's channeling that people kind of do for like, where they're basically just like channeling their own stream of consciousness. But like when you're really connecting, like this is not easy. This is not easy. Relationships. Okay, I saw something flip here. Could have sworn. So Libra is about the balancing of scales. And so we have that very profoundly, like, with this harvest here, balance, strength, and vulnerability. The Libra here is about finding balance. We have to find a new balance. This is a transformation. So how do we find a balance between that masculine agency, like go, get it, and that like divine feminine community, like who am I in purpose to ecosystem? Who can I reach? Who's around me? What can we make together? How can we communicate? With trust. This is what I was looking for. Yeah, and so with that 5th house being, again, like these crafts, and the North Node, there will be success and benefit from finding a balance right now in your own life and finding voice and moving into connection and moving into things that are going to give you nourishment, right now, I suggest start reading. Seriously. The social media is extractive. It's not, I mean, there's a way in which you can engage with it for, you know, a moment here and a moment there. But right now, the extraction and the deprivation and the way that things are ramping up and the energy around them, like, you want to be nourished, you want to be calm, you want to be doing things for your nervous system. And one of the best things you can do for your nervous system is read or listen to books and lay around. Like, there's ways in which you can do things that, like, I think that this is what this reading is saying. You know, this hubris is like saying, like, you know, my work and the way I do it and how it's going to be great because it's just going to be the same as it was. When we're really meant to, like, really we have to confront the conditioning, confront the way that we have been instructed to be in the world, and really magic the mind, really master the mind and be able to move into a place of relationships and beauty and partnerships and balance. At this time, that's going to be critical. And it doesn't matter who you do it with. You're going to just find your people. And if you can't find your people, you can talk to me, we can work on it. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of what I'm here to do, is be a little bit of a touchstone for people that haven't found that way, you know? And so this 5th house of with the trust of a child, fun, romance, making art, do it dramatically, and even the energy of Loki that kind of came through just a moment ago, like, we do have to do this in a fun way, and we do have to find a way to do this in a fun way. I think that this breaking point right now means that we can't talk about this in a fun way, just this moment, because, like, I feel something close. But furthermore, like, when we do have the magician, that's all the tools that we need. When we are on the right path, you know, and we are communicating and we are creating and we are finding ways to face our fears and step into this new world and this new way of being in the world and this new way of finding our channels, strong channels that can help us position ourselves, strong channels that we are in purpose with the divine energy that is our highest self. That's gonna be the confidence. And that's the opposite of self-abandonment, and it's the opposite of obedience for rewards. It's something else, and it's something that we are taken away from it very young. So getting reacquainted with it is a process. We're going to keep on working on it. I had to bring a warning through. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. I can't get close to it. I really can't see any farther than, like, I smell it, I feel it. Where are my other psychics? What are you guys picking up on? Because let's talk about it. I want to, maybe we'll pull cards in the middle of the week and kind of see where we're at, but I definitely feel something. So don't be afraid. This isn't fear, okay? If you're in this collective, you're feeling it, so I'm not telling you anything new. But there's no fear in it. We're being told that we're going to have grace, that we're totally taken care of in all of this. We have a 6 of Wands victory, we have an Ace of Wands, blazed path, we have a Judgment card, things are happening quicker than we think, the Wheel of Fortune here. All we're told to do is rest and work on our minds, because the fear of missing out suffer, you know, if things start to fall apart in the world, you can capsize under all of the things that you think you should be having in a different experience, not during an apocalypse. Or you could be in the apocalypse purposed and having, like, a really powerful experience of your own voice and identity. And so we're going to just work on finding that. And we're also going to communicate about this a little bit. So yeah, leaving it there, and I'll see you guys again soon.